2022. My name is Joy Tongo, the CEO of Jayton Production. Today's panel is Media, Art, and Culture, and we are discussing how to harness the power of art and culture to tackle social ills, promote peace, and enhance a prosperous Africa. And I have three guests with me backstage, and I'll be bringing on Osita Uga.
Hi, Joy. Good day, and thank you for
Hi.
having me here.
Hi, Osita. Nice to have you. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Great, great, great. Please, can you introduce
Also.
yourself?
So my name is Osita Uge, and I'm the CEO of Duke Concept. Duke Concept is a leading Afrobeat event promotion and production company based in North America.
Great, thank you. Nice to have you. And with me backstage is Iman Inson Misodi.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, Iman. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be here. Yeah,
Great.
my name is Isam Misodi. I'm a filmmaker from Nigeria, and also I run an academy in Nigeria called Royal Arts Academy. But currently, I'm in the US.
Nice to have you. Thank you, Iman. And also I have Ito Shana.
Hi, Joy. Thank you for having me. Hello to everyone on the panel. Mambo, Mbote Nabino Nyonso. My name is Eto Chana, and I'm a performing artist, singer, dancer, choreographer based in New York City.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Once again, this is the Power of Africa Conference 2022. Today, we are going to be talking on the media, art, and culture, and we are looking at how to harness the power of arts and culture to tackle social ills, promote peace, and enhance a prosperous Africa. And I would like to ask Iman, what movies from anywhere in the world can we learn from in using film as a tool to fight social ills in Africa?
Thank you, Joy, for that question. There's so many movies, but I'll just maybe talk about one or two that I do remember. I mean, I would say the primary goal of movies is to entertain. But Hollywood realized early that, like great literature, entertainment could also be used for good. I would say the 1955 classic Rebel Without a Cause was about a rebellious teenager's relationship with his dad. I mean, the psychological truth of the movie and realistic depiction of teen teen anger sparked a conversation about parenting and the ills of generational gap across America. And during World War II, movies were an important tool of the tool for the American and British governments used to boost patriotism in its people. What comes to mind right now is the 1942 film, I think, Casablanca, which is a notable example, using the tale of Americans stuck in Nazi-occupied Morocco as a backdrop. Casablanca is one of the most beloved films in the world that continue to resonate the horrors of war. I would also mention Avatar. Avatar, the most successful movie of all time, awakened the world to renew its commitment to preserve the environment, thereby a lot of climate change and all of that. Then most recently, I would say I want to use Jordan Peele's Get Out, which sparked a global discourse on neo-slavery, neo-colonialism, and the continued subjugation of Black people the world over. So these are the ones that already come to mind.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I would say all those movies you just mentioned do tackle social ills in Africa, right? So great. This is.
I've talked about the world basically. So I didn't really go into African movies, and then I didn't go into Nigerian movies. But we're talking about the Hollywood was the one I used as example.
Okay, great. So do we have any movies in Africa that tackle social ills?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, of course, I would. The charity begins at home. I would talk about mine. I've done quite a number of advocacy kind of movies. I did one called Zara, which talked about the ills and all the evil that goes on in IDP camps, where the people refugees, there's a lot of horrible stuff going on there, and we needed to bring that out. I did another one on the culture of silence when it comes to rape called Code of Silence is a movie, and yes, it's entertaining, but it had a great message. Like a couple of advocacy movies I have done, so I would readily mention my own.
Great, because I really like to know yours. So yeah, so Zara and Code of Silence definitely
Yes,
are movies that tackle social ills in Africa. Great.
yes.
Moving on to, thank you very much. Moving on to Ito Chana, I would like to ask you, what imbalance of power and opportunity do you notice, if any, in the African entertainment scene, like the representation, gender issues, or social political?
All right. So if we're going to, I would like to kind of split that up into two, because we could look at the popular music industry, or we could look at the dance, because I started as a dancer. For the most part, and I lived in Congo. So I am based in New York, but I lived in Congo. For the most part, it is a lack of representation. And I'm speaking specifically about the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Republic of the Congo, is lack of representation, real management, opportunities that exist outside of just, dancing for popular bands. A lot of dancers who are getting the recognition or getting noticed today, and now people know their names outside of just in Kinshasa, for an example, are dancers that actually dance for bands like Fabregas, Fally Ipupa, Koffi Olomide. But one of the great things that have happened is that social media is something that people have accessibility to. So that's a resource. I guess what I'm talking about is resources, lack of resources. Social media has been an outlet for dancers to be able to get themselves out to more audiences, right? But then one has to ask themselves, okay, so now you have a following, but what does that really mean as far as generating you any kind of income or opportunities when you are in Kinshasa and some dancers don't even have a passport? So it's basically trying to, what kind of opportunities can be created. A few of us who are in the diaspora that but are from home have been going back, and we create festivals, and we're trying to do things like that to keep people employed, because it's one thing to dance and dance for the gram or any other social media, but there's another to, you have to survive, you have family you have to take care of. So it's basically those, I think those are some of the things that is a challenge. How can you bring over sometimes a mindset that is more Western to cultures that are set and have a certain view of for example, when it comes to being a dancer. And I'm specifically speaking of Congo. I'm not going to dabble in other countries and say that dancers are not respected in other countries. However, there is a lack of respect. There is a lack of seriousness that this is a real profession. An example of that was I took on a position as a principal at a school in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Kinshasa to be specific. And they were okay with the idea. They thought it was great that, you're a dancer. But they also knew that I was highly qualified for the position of being a principal. So they took me on board. And when I continued to do my activities, which was my first passion of dance and entertainment, it became a conflict. And I said, hey, I really got a degree in dance, drama, theater, and dance. This is really what I did. And it was like, so what other skills do you really have? Because dance, is something we do culturally here. It's something we're born into. It's part of our culture. But how does that equate a career? And it left me really thinking. So I think this is what some of the things that dancers are facing. Is many of the things that musicians are facing. There's lack of funding. There's lack of actual labels in the Congo. A huge lack of labels, like music labels or reputable music labels. And there's so much talent, so much talent. And they find themselves really, if you listen to any radio station in the Congo, you're going to hear a lot of American music being played on the air. But for an artist who's up and coming, they have to pay to get airplay. So I'm gonna kind of leave it there. I think I maxed out my time in speaking because I brought in different things, and these are issues. And how can an artist be? I'm going to end it with a question of how can an artist be successful in their craft if they lack the resources?
Great, great, great. Thank you very much, Ito Chana. I would just like to chip in on that. Yes, bring in Osita, who's an expertise in that. So right now he's the king of Afrobeat, promoting it. He's doing great. He just finished the Burna Boys concert at the Madison Square Garden that was sold out. So I would say with all these that Osita Uge is doing right now, he's definitely promoting a prosperous Africa. And would you say that right now the festivals, the concept, everything that's happening in the African space, African music, Afrobeat, is promoting Africa in a great spotlight? Or do you feel that there's something else that needs to be done to push Africa forward, music-wise?
So, so to go to your question, I think it's actually doing what it's supposed to do, which is giving Africa the necessary visibility. At the same time, encouraging the youth that they can actually be what they want to be without the assistance of the government. Because if you look at what's going on around the world and how much Afrobeat and African music as a whole has spread across like wildfire, it had nothing to do with policies or anything to do with the government. It's always been individuals, individual pockets and the private sector funding the business. So it creates a ripple effect in a positive way where Burna Boy headlining the Madison Square Garden inspires a whole lot of youth out of Nigeria down to his neighborhood, Port Harcourt, saying if our Port Harcourt son can perform at the Madison Square Garden, we can do it. So we don't have to be scammers to be successful, or we don't have to be fraudsters to be successful. As long as we are consistent in our craft and we are persistent and patient, because remember, it took him a while to get to the spotlight, right? As long as we are consistent and patient and doing the work we are supposed to do, we would be able to get to where we need to get to. So I think it creates a good narrative and a good inspiration to the younger generation.
Wow, great, great, great. So basically the Madison Square Garden sold out 20,000 capacity, right?
Fully sold out, correct.
Wow. So African music is really like thriving right now, thriving a lot right now. I just want to add to that. Do you see the music industry in like 5 years being like the American standard industry, African artists being like an American artist, or we are there already?
We are getting there, right? The only thing is that, like we talk about the prosperous Africa, is us learning from whatever has been said by the rest of the world and replicating the standard in Africa. Because at the end of the day, is performing at the Madison Square Garden is fine and good. It's good for my resume, it's good for the artist's resume. But where's our Madison Square Garden in Nigeria? Where's our Madison Square Garden in Ghana? So these are the things that we need to look at, right? My company has created a fantastic touring system, and we have fantastic touring history, where we probably will be recording about 500 shows at the end of the year here, and But the question is, are we able to do the same in Africa? Are we able to have artists perform from state to state in Nigeria and say an artist has done a tour in 36 states of Nigeria in the right theaters and are safe, fine, and well? So these are the questions we ask ourselves. How are we empowering our next generation? Are we creating exports? Because we create a lot of exports. Everything in Africa is exportable, right? From our cocoa to our oil, but we create them and we lack them. So we refine oil, send it to the foreign country to be refined. We generate oil, send it out to be refined in another country, then we import them as imported goods. So that is exactly what's going to happen, or what's happening to our music now, is we produce them in Nigeria. They become superstars. We here benefit from them. Then those in Nigeria are not able to afford them anymore because they're not at price, because we don't even have the structure to do that. So at the end of the day, we all have to figure out how to not just depend on the government, but to be involved in creating an ecosystem in Nigeria with the arts and music sector.
Wow.
That's exactly where I was coming from. I wasn't even looking at the US because we see that there is a flourishing movement, a beautiful movement that's happening, right? But how can we bring that balance back and bring that back, and when we're talking about Afrobeat, that's one, look, we know 54 countries in Africa, right? 54 countries, 55 nations, right? But how much music is coming out? It's not just Afrobeat. So, and when we think about that, right, how do other countries push? I mean, I talk about Tanzania. I spent the full year in Tanzania. My last songs were made in Tanzania. But they are creating a structure. So we're talking about a new country in the sense of its music, that for many, many years, Tanzania and Kenya, East Africa, was making music that was Congolese in sound. And now within the past, decade, they are creating their own sound, bongo flavor music, and so many others. And they are creating their record labels. They're putting on artists under them. They are pushing artists, Diamond being one of the best examples of that. And those artists getting to a certain level, and those artists then creating their labels and but they're making that movement together. Now, this is a very, very young generation. We're talking about they're in like their early 20s, and they're moving together in masses. And that movement that I see there would be a movement I would love to see happening in the Congo music, in the Francophone African music scene. I want to be very specific, because although, most of our African music that's most popular is Anglophone African music. We're talking about Wizkid. We're talking about Burna Boy. We're talking about Davido. We're talking about, they could go to Congo and possibly sell out the stadiums. They were not without a problem. But how can we get that movement happening where it's what? So Francophone music is good for the French speaking, France, Europe over there, but not for the US. So it's things like this that have a lot of us talking. DJs here, and we sometimes get on Instagram and we hold these conversations like, okay, it's great. We're happy. Africa's on the map on the US. Great. For me, Africa has always been on the map because I come from a traditional also perspective, especially in New York, where people have been dancing African dance since the 60s. But that's neither here or there. But how do we push the rest of the sounds coming? And that's for Duke Entertainment.
Okay, this is that comment.
Okay, great. I thought Duke was going to say something, Sita. Well, I think he's already.
I wasn't prepared for that, so I don't know what to respond.
But you're already doing that anyway, because he's not just promoting just the West African, or I would say Afrobeat. I see like Diamond Platinum, who's not West Africa, right? He's actually doing, so he does tours with East Africans, and
Ali Pupa and others. Yes, I think Daju, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And like, just to reiterate, like Usita said, and you said, it would be very great to bring that back to Africa.
Yes.
So meaning to Nigeria, to Congo, to Ghana, like not just in America, now touring within the country, like doing a proper tour. That would definitely make Africa prosperous, definitely. Yeah, thank you very much, Ito, appreciate. Now, we cannot be talking about having a prosperous Africa with music without going to Nollywood and African movies. And we know that we have the king of African movies, and who's a director and a producer, and that's Imaine Song. So we're just talking about, because Nollywood was the first to really spotlight Africa. So before the music, we had the movies. The movies were the one that was giving Africa positive feedback. So we have to take it back and ask some it's on a question in regard to that. And so I would like to ask Iman, can movies aimed at promoting peace in Africa and tackling social ills be commercial, or must commons be sacrificed for the goal of societal rehabilitation?
I would say it's not cast in stone that a movie made to tackle societal ills, shouldn't be commercial. No. In fact, Nigerian commercial movies have actually had the most reach as they make it to cinemas and various VOD platforms. The goal is actually to sell out your message to an, engaged audience in a well-told story without having to make it, so preachy. Yes, sometimes some of this, if you want to say, okay, I'm doing advocacy films, I'm just going to do only advocacy, trying to tackle one thing or the other, the tendency is that it might actually alienate some people, and it might not be commercially successful. But some producers have managed to tell the two, make the two come across as a record commercial success and still be able to say what they want to say. You said something about Nollywood being the first to actually take African culture, or rather Nigerian culture, out there, but music has gone way ahead of us. We are now crawling, and we are hoping that we are going to catch up as soon as possible. And there are so many stories we haven't even told, stories that celebrate Africa, stories that celebrate African heroes. And I'm hoping that with time, a lot of us would begin to tell the stories and not be concentrating on stories that have already been told over time. And so many times in Hollywood, we have great stories to be told, great African stories. And I'm hoping that we will do that, and we will take over again from where we were, from the music people.
Great. I know, Sita, I don't know if you want to. Probably you don't want to argue with that takeover.
No, as long as we're all championing the same cause,
Exactly.
Tackling social ills using our platforms. That's it's something that we need to do. And the truth is that sometimes it doesn't even have to be in the movies. It doesn't have to be in the music. Sometimes it has to be in our lifestyle. Because what happens with our artists is that it puts us on the limelight. It puts the artists on the limelight. So when you have two artists, whatever they say, they have people flocking after them. They have disciples. In the movies, you also have very successful actors and writers who become influencers. So rather than them having to I don't want to say chase clout, but maybe chase clout, where all of a sudden you buy yourself a car and say, my fans bought me a car. I would rather, because we have a problem with the present generation, right? Where we're looking for more what's it called? It's a verification. Yeah, validation, right? We want to be like every other person, because it's like we're in a big brother generation. It should be beyond that, right? Where you use your platform to inspire and to encourage, like what we're doing here, right? It's part of it. Having these conversations is part of it. I'm sure MM has a lot to do. I'm sure Eto has a lot to do. I'm sure Joy has a lot to do. We are saying, hey, let's put our voices together. So using your voices, using your platforms, and using your connects to see, like they did in Nigeria for the EdSARS, where for the first time everybody was able to come together to speak in one voice. So if we understand that our platforms directly connect to our audience, we should be able to use our platforms to speak against social ills, whether we're on set, whether we're on stage, or whether we're at home.
Great.
Agreed.
Yeah, great. Definitely looking forward to Nollywood back up there, and of course Afrobeats and African music in general just skyrocketing and doing great things and spotlighting Africa in a better and a positive way. Great. So I'd like to back to Eto Channel. I would like to ask, what is your impression of the new popular trends of African sound throughout the world, outside of Africa, like we're just talking right now? How can this popular music movement benefit African artists and the countries from which artists originate?
I think we already answered that question. I think Osita did a great job of answering that question by saying having that same, making it our lifestyle, a mindset, right?
Mhm.
But also taking and placing that in Africa, right? In each individual country, right? And moving in the same fashion. I think the question was already answered. So you want to throw something else at me?
Great, great. I know right now you're doing big things in the industry and you're striving. So would you say that you rather go back home to, infuse your music or make your music popular, or you want to do it right there in America, in New York, where you reside, and let the African sound exploit to the Americans?
Well, that's a great question. I would say, I have to admit, this is me. This is what has worked for me. I need to go back home. I need to be home, whether it is in Congo or in Tanzania, because Tanzania has become my second home. Uh, doing my work there, creating my work there. The inspiration is there. It's a different environment, different elements, different mindset, different people around. New York is a hustle and bustle. It's always running, and my $75 an hour studio is really, you better get there on time or you lose your money. And then once you're done, a minute before the time is up, you need to get out. There is no reflection and people around you. That team, that family, that community. Because back home, if my song is a success, it's not a Etochana success. It's a team success. And my team rides with me. They're like, okay, we're going to push this song. We're going to try on, over here. We're going to do what we got to do. And okay, we did that one. We saw where that was. We saw the positives, the negatives, where we failed, where we succeeded. Next song, get in the studio. And sometimes the producer's the one singing too, doing a little harmony. So very different. I believe that music for me should be created back home, not here. I have created music here, but the experiences are very different. As far as also getting my music out there in the street is so lovely. Papa Wempa, he passed away 6 years ago. Papa Wempa was this legendary artist from the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. He passed away 6 years ago. I danced in his band, so that was like a big deal for me. American born person going back home and being invited to be a dancer in the band, not just do a video, but really a member of the band. He passed away, and they had his memorial a few days ago, all over parts of cities, parts in Kinshasa and all throughout Kinshasa, the DRC. And people started sending me clips. Here's your song. Look, they're playing it at the festival. So seeing that for a song that came out in 2018, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it really got me so excited. So back home is the place, and here is the place where I come and I push the work. Here is the place where I start shouting out my Jizo, my producer, or Daxo, or Ayaliza. This is where I start pushing the names of the people who supported me in the works. This is when I go to a venue and I give them a list of bongo flavor music that I know is not played in nightclubs or in any other scene. This is when I give them a list of, some South African amapiano or some Tanzanian amapiano, and I say, this is what I need you to play. I get the Kofi Olomide Lwa, that's an old school song, but here, play some Inosbi, play some Gazma Wete, play some Robinho, play these artists that are great artists that are not getting the push. So I use my platform to also push people and the work.
Great. Thank you very much, Ito. Glad to know that you are routing a lot for African music, and would rather make your music popular in Africa than have it popular in America. But basically, if it's popular in Africa, it's definitely going to transcend to America, Europe, everywhere in the world.
That's the strategy.
So now back to Osita. Right now, I know that Afrobeats, African music is trending, everything. And it seems like you're the only one when it comes to the African space. And as a promoter, as an executive in the music industry, I don't know, coming from my view, it seems like you're the only one really pushing So would you say that a lot of hands, a lot of executive, a lot of promoters is needed? Like we should all come into one space or one body to really push this music, or basically it's definitely something that you can do all by yourself, or it's a collective effort?
So first is it's a jury, so no one person can do it by themselves. So and I don't do it by myself. I do it with my team. So I have a fantastic team, by the way. I wish I could do it by myself. I'm already down from just this one show. Imagine if I was doing it alone. I probably would be dead by now. Um so for us to be able to push the culture, there has to be key players in every sector of the company's culture. So there's more to the music business than just promoting, right? Just the show promoters. Because remember that there are promoters for albums and releases and all that that work with the labels and the artists. So we need to like my company right now has put a structure to touring. We've been able to narrow down our marketing we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's, and we know how to do the analysis, how to do data analysis, marketing, projections, and things like that, right? So we've been able to figure that out. Now, the question now is, without us being in the play, when you go to the labels, how are we able to have that same giant like a Duke Concept there? Do we have African labels that are doing the same thing? Unfortunately, we don't. We need to like have labels that are owned and operated by Africans that are also championing the cause. If not, we'll be at a loss in the long run. So labels that are back home need to also find a way of getting set up in other parts of the world. Just like you see Sony and Atlantic and all that, what they do, all of a sudden they announce their office in Lagos, their office in South Africa. That is the mindset we should have. The mindset of building companies and legacies and not individual person, a one-man show. It could never be a one-man show. If you do it as a one-man show, we cannot scale. So for it to make sense, we have to be able to scale every sector smartly, from the PR companies. I'm talking about culturally inclined now, our people being in this position, from PR to songwriting to the movie writing to, which is where Nollywood may have been behind, was that Nollywood they're doing what they're supposed to do, but they needed to do a step more by going global. You know what I mean? A Nollywood office in New York, championing the cause, doing the PR around our Nollywood movies. That is one of our greatest experts, right?
True.
Who strikes the deal with this Netflix companies? Do we have a proper agency that makes sure that they're actually getting their royalties as they should get? Just remember that it could be giving them less and they wouldn't know. Who are our entertainment lawyers that know these things? How many entertainment lawyers do we know? Do they have an association of entertainment lawyers? Because entertainment lawyers is one business that they don't really have to compete against themselves, because there's a lot of clients that they can attend to, right? So the question is, do we have these structures? So we have to start putting structures in different part of the business, because what people see is the show guy. What they see is those who do the shows. But behind the scene, we might be losing a lot of money that needs, because at the end of the day, what happens to us, if the artist gets paid, it will reflect in Africa, because the artist is from Africa, they do charity in Africa, they have family in Africa. But every other sector, publishing, what is it? You know what I mean? So I think that we should start looking into that. How do we support our own DSPs, like this, Boomplay and all that? I don't even know if Boomplay is owned by an African. Those literally two things in the business, in every business of art and culture, are the things we have to begin to look into, so that it's able to reflect on our African economy.
Wow. Thank you. I see that Iman is nodding her head. I don't know if you had any contribution to that in regard to what he said. He said this is the reason why Nollywood is a bit behind. I don't know if you have anything to say in regard to that. I know that right now you just recently moved to America, to the States, and I believe that you have plans for Nollywood to take Nollywood further to the next level.
Well, I would hope so. He's right in the fact that we really haven't scaled as much as we should have. We didn't run with what we had, but thank God a lot of organizations are waking up to that. There are some film festivals that are really trying to place Nollywood globally. The African Film, I think, AFRIF and some other festivals, they are working hard to make sure this is happening. Yes, we do need a lot more representatives. Very important about entertainment lawyers. There's so much lacking. We don't have structure, and that's the truth. We really do need to come together. And so I agree wholeheartedly with him. And I hope that we'll be able to get to this as time goes on. I'm just looking around. Let's see. We never know what can happen while I'm here, but I'm still working back home.
Great. So we can end the discussion, talk about Africa and promoting Prospered Africa without talking about the last trend that happened in regard to the Grammy. I just want to ask, I'm going to use the Grammy, and I'm also going to use Oscar, because Oscar is for the Hollywood, Nollywood movies, and the Grammy is for music, Afrobeat, and African music. So how relevant is these award for Africans? Is it important? Would you say, no, shun the award, do your own local award, or would you say strive to win an Oscar or strive to win a Grammy? So I'll start with Osita.
So first is it depends. It's not a yes or no answer, and the reason I say so is a lot of times when we speak, when people speak about these things and they say, "Oh, the Grammy we shouldn't worry much about the Grammy. We should worry about the Emmys and the Afrimas." But the truth is that when someone wins the Grammy, we do have accord the person more respect. It's just our reality. We would not be able to get there if we don't have a structure. So it boils down to structure. How many of these artists respect the local awards? And how many of these local awards, when I mean local, I mean home-based awards, how many of them do have a board that selects this artist? Do they select based on tribe, or do they select based on friendship? So these are the things we need to put into consideration. The Grammy, as difficult as it is to win, Wizkid could not win the Grammy. It tells you something. It makes you work harder, knowing that it's not a walk in the park. It takes beyond one trend for you to win the Grammy. So sorry, this video Oscars, right? There's a standard. There's something that I know we're disappointed when Genevieve's movie did not win the Oscars, right? That was 2 or 3 years ago, because everyone was expecting that. Am I right, Amen? Was that?
Right? I think it wasn't. It was selected, but at the end of the day, it wasn't put forward as our own nomination for some reason. So it didn't even get there. But it was selected by the Academy in Nigeria, the people representing. But it wasn't. It didn't get there at all for whatever reason.
So when you think about these things, would we still need Western validation? Do we need to create our own validation? Do we even need validation at all? Mm-hmm. So these are the questions that keep rising. The thing that we just need to do is to create our own system first and make sure that they are perfectly done to the world standard. Then the world will pay attention. Then the world will want to get recognized by our standard awards as well. But if you have our awards where we don't even respect ourselves, how do we expect to honor someone from a different country and they will respect? So these are the things that we need to put into consideration. The awards might not be just like report card or scores and whatever you get in college. It's not the true test of knowledge. I'm not a first class graduate. Engineering. I studied engineering. Engineering was hard. It was really hard. Started as a passion, and I found out how hard it was. I'm like, damn, I don't think this is for me. But anyway, back to not to derail from the conversation. What I'm saying is, the awards are necessary. They might not be a true representation of how good the artist is, but it's also something for you to look up to and to work up to. So until we have and create our own system, we would have to deal with the Western validation for now.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. So Iman, So what would be your take on that too?
I would like to add that I have always been of the opinion that we do need something really strong back home, because if we do have an award system that resonates really outside, I think they try. I don't know what went on the AMA award, because that was, well, that talked mainly concentrated on Africa. But if that was really pushed, where most people knew that, okay, this was the authentic African award, I want to believe that from there we would now have a bit more recognition as the Oscars. I still believe that we should put our own house in order first before we begin to seek validation. That's my own take.
Wow, thank you. And Ito Channel, what's your take on that too?
Wow, everyone has me writing notes. I'm writing notes. Okay, so for me, these are mine. These are my babies. I think awards is a personal thing. It's personal. It's individual. For some people, it means nothing. For some people, it means something. I mean, I guess it's like I said, for me, I don't know if I seek validation, right? Because who is who to say that what I do is valuable work or not valuable work or of a standard, or we live in the United States of America, where it's very holistic. It's very personal. It's very open. I mean, I'm went back to college. Why is pursuing degrees and getting another degree and another degree, why is that so important to me? Why being acknowledged maybe and receiving an award means something to me? Because after a while, it just sits there and it collects dust. I think about how I know many people who have PhDs and they're in debt for it, but nevertheless, when you speak to them, they're not really, you're like, something is off or something is missing, or how are you contributing to society? How are you making a change in society, even though you have this, these high level achievements? But I there's a huge talk, and I'm indifferent even when it comes to award shows. Like yes, the Oscars and the Grammys, they've been around for a long time to receive these titles, to entitle them to say that this person deserves this or that. And certain people sit down in a panel and make the decision, because these are things that are voted on, and they look at different things. But I'm sorry?
No, we could hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I asked at what point. I mean, there's a lot of home award shows that have been around for 5-10 years or longer. Iwama has been around forever. But how long did they have to work in order to be considered, something accredited or even worth, some artists have received awards from certain award shows and they're like, that doesn't matter. If it's not a FREMA, I don't want it. So I think, like I said, I don't think I have a real feel on it, but I would love to see some more home award shows that work through whatever it is, the process, and put together the structures and the necessary things that are needed to make them reputable. I think what makes you reputable is consistency, discipline, and your team, right? So, and seeing that push instead of always looking for validation from the United States. I'm so sorry that I said it that way, but that's what you thought.
Oh, thank you. So basically, I just got from everyone that there should be a balance. Yes, the Grammy is important, the Oscar is important too, but we should have our own home-based award that is authentic and that has value, and also why we cherish the outside award like the Oscar and Grammy. So there should be a balance there. Thank you very much. So for our closing, I would like to get a closing remark or a closing comment. I will start with Osita Uge. Can you just give us a remark or comment?
So I'll just bring it back home to what our topic says. And as we strive in every aspect of the culture, from art, drawing art, to whatever arts we are in, to the creatives, all creatives as a whole, we should always keep in mind that our art or our products should be an inspiration to people and to our own people, most especially. So we must strive to use our platforms to act, to preach against social ills as much as we can, and to use our life and our lifestyle as well, and not shy away from speaking about these things, because when we do speak against them, we actually make great impressions and great contributions to humankind. So once again, let's try and use our work to preach against social ills. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Osita. So I'd like to hear from Iman Isam Sodi on your closing remark and comment. Your phone is on.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone here. I really enjoyed this session. I think these are conversations we really should be having. It fosters or strengthens us, I believe. I would like to say, for me as a filmmaker, I would like to be more authentic, more representative of my culture, and I would like to see that in a lot of Nollywood movies. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. And Ito Channel, I'd like to get your closing remark and comment.
I first want to thank everyone on this panel. Such a depth of knowledge and experiences, and I really I'm taking away a lot of things with me today. So thank you, and thank you, Joy and Power of Africa, for making this platform available, because we need to hold these conversations. And I think sometimes when we're thinking about, our industries, we only think of ourselves in the sense of, oh man, it's bigger than us. And we forget that there's other people out there striving and fighting for the same things. But if we don't make these connections somehow, some way, you never know that, you get the answer from someone that, or you get the support that you need. I mean, prior to getting into this panel discussion, Osita gave me some great information regarding women in entertainment and who are trend-setting as business women, as leaders in the community. So I was like, this is amazing. So, once again, reach out and make those connections. You'd be surprised what kind of information you could get. Africa united, we move together. You make more change as a whole unified group. They say one voice is annoying, but many voices bring upon change.
Thank you very much, Ito Channel. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining today's discussion on media, art, and culture. Once again, this is the Power of Africa Conference 2022. We just talked about how to harness the power of art and culture to tackle social ills, promote peace, and enhance a prosperous Africa. Thank you all again. And this is Power of Africa 2022.